Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so pleased to be here with Amy today. Amy, I'm so excited for people to hear your story. I know, in your title it says home organizer and home stylist, but we were chatting for a little bit, and I loved your passion about why you do what you do. So I'm hoping that you'll share with everyone first, what do you do, and why are you so passionate about it?
Well, I organize and decorate homes, and typically it starts with a declutter, asking people do you need this? Do you use it? Do you love it? And then we move into once we've purged everything that's not necessary, then we move into creating order and function. And then from there, I like to do the decorating, which is kind of the icing on top to make it beautiful. And I do this not just to create a beautiful home, but because I really truly believe that everybody deserves to have a home that they can come to at the end of a hard day, where they can rest, relax, recharge, and also just to create a hospitable space so that if they want to have a friend over for coffee or a meal, they can do that. So.
And I loved what you were saying, I loved what you were saying about your passion for mental wellness and about what a happy home, like a home that you're happy with, what that contributes to mental wellness. So, if you're comfortable, could you share your thoughts with us on that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there are actually scientific studies that show that if you have a really chaotic, cluttered home, it impacts your mental health. And so I really am passionate about creating homes that people that are calm, and that create that space where people do feel relaxed, and where their homes aren't working against them, but working for them. And one of my very first clients, actually, it was interesting. I was working with this young Air Force family, and they had 3 small children and a stay-at-home mom. And they were always running late. The kids' projects weren't getting turned in on time at school. There was just a lot of chaos. And so anyway, I went into their home, we decluttered, then I created some order and function in their home. And she contacted me later and said, Amy, my husband thinks you're a miracle worker. She said, it has changed our lives. We're able to get to places on time. The kids are getting their assignments turned in at school. My husband and I aren't fighting as much. And so it really did fuel my passion to continue to do this, because I really want places where I really want people to feel connected, loved, and for their homes to be a place that work for them and for their families.
I'm so happy you shared that. And I know I was like pulling it out of you because I think it's really important for people out there to hear, because everyone has a hobby, right? Like a lot of us don't know what we want to do when we grow up. But I remember talking to Krista Wells, who's a military spouse coach, and she would just say, what do you mean you don't know what you want to do when you grow up? Just look on your bookshelf. Like I can, like just read me the first 12 books on your bookshelf and I can tell you what you want to be when you grow up. And so for me, it's apparent that you just had a passion to help people with, by working with their space. And so I think you're the right person for me to ask this question. Like, what advice would you give someone out there who wants to take a hobby or a passion and turn it into a business? Because I know that you did this for free for a long time. And it wasn't until your daughter, I think, it said, Mom, you should just do this and charge. So
Yeah.
what advice, in hindsight, what advice would you give someone who wants to take a hobby and turn it into a business?
Right. Well, it's like you say, like I said the same thing for years. I don't know what I'm good at. I don't know what my talents are. I don't know what to do with my life. and it was so obvious to other people in my life. Like, you're very talented at this. You could make this a business.
You love
But
doing it.
yeah, it just came naturally to me, and I did love it. And so I didn't even recognize that there was anything special about it. you know but as far as advice for people who want to make a hobby into a career. I do recommend doing it free of charge for a bit, because and I did ask the people who I was doing it for freely, if they would let me do some before and after photos, if they would be willing to write me a review once I got my business up and running. And the reviews are like gold for a business, and the proof of what you do, the before and after. And so, and it allowed me to work through some kinks, and to be able to launch and feel like I was setting myself up for success. So if you do have a hobby that you want to turn into a career, I would suggest doing it for a bit free of charge, and working through some things and getting those reviews, getting some photos, getting feedback from your clients or your customers about what you could do better or differently. All those things are really valuable.
So you basically use your earliest clients as beta testers for your business, and then you just modified or iterated your business based on their feedback. So then once you were ready to like move from doing things for free to charging for your service, how did you transition to doing that? I mean, like, and then as I guess the second part of the question is, as a new business owner, how did you even go about finding paying clients?
Yes. Well, it's one thing to have a talent or a skill and be confident in that. It's a whole nother ball game to start a business. And I had never taken a business class, didn't know the first thing about how to begin a business. So first off, my girlfriend Shannon, who is actually, she came out to visit after my daughter had suggested that I start a business. About 6 months later, Shannon came out to visit me with her family, and she said to me, Amy, almost the exact same words, you have a real talent. I think you need to start a business. And I said, that's so funny that you say that, because Megan said the same thing to me just a few months ago, but I don't know the first thing about starting a business. That's very intimidating to me. And she said, well, she had her own business called Paper Glaze Calligraphy. Shout out to Shannon Inman. And so she said, well, I'll help you get started. She said, you need to get a business name. You need to get it registered. You need to do an LLC. Here's an app that I use to keep track of mileage, like all these, get a website, get business cards. And so I was like, okay, and then somebody had told me that the Air Force bases offer a business class called Boots to Business. So when we got to Warner Robins Air Force Base, I took the Boots to Business course. And honestly, it was very general, and I had a lot of questions that the class itself didn't answer for me specifically. But I did talk to the lady who was teaching it right after the class, and just told her, Lisa, I still have so many questions. I still don't know about these different things. And so she gave me her business card, and she said, well, just come to my office and I will walk you through all of that free of charge. So it was just a huge blessing between Shannon and Lisa. So Lisa helped me get all the paperwork in place needed for a business, make sure. I was so concerned about tax records and finding an accountant to help with all those things. And so between those two women, they set me up for success.
I mean, finding the right resources and finding the right mentors is everything, isn't it? So how did you find your first couple clients then?
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. One of my very first paying clients was another military spouse, and she actually visited my home one day and was impressed. And so she said, I could really use your help. So she hired me. She was my first one. But then most of my clients initially were coming from probably Thumbtack and Angie Leads. I was getting calls from that. I do have a website, which my daughter did a beautiful job setting up. And then also, of course, word of mouth is huge to any business. Unfortunately, as a military spouse, if you're only in a place a couple of years, you're just starting to get word of mouth going in the community, and then you're moving again. So it's hard to rely on that as a military spouse. But then I have a Facebook page, Instagram, and I'm currently running a commercial on a local radio station and gotten a few clients from that. So yeah, just different ways.
Hopefully you'll get some clients from this. So what area are you working in right now? You're at Hurlburt. So if
Right.
you're in the Panhandle area, reach out. And then do you have online offerings as well?
As far as online courses or
Online courses, or even do you do tips on like decluttering and such? Asking for a friend.
well, actually during COVID, when business was really slow, I was doing a lot of that. Just like, here's a tip for today, clean this, do this, but right now I'm not doing too much of that. I'll post some pictures of my current work and things like that. But yeah.
Because I mean, I think I was like, you sound like you're so proactive. And, I think one of the things you mentioned is that marketing is a challenge and it's all trial and error. And I feel like military spouses now, like the society is catching up to our lifestyle. And so I think, to one of the things that you were saying about, it being challenging having a network because we have to move all the time. Gratefully, I think that there's so much online that for a lot of military spouses, like if you're going to move to a new location, all the installations have like Facebook pages, right? And so like you can connect and start networking, which is so cool. And you know what, one of the things I want to ask you, because you're here and we have some time, and I just, I know people want to know because you're doing home organizing, you're doing decorating. What do you tell people who want to buy all the beautiful things, even though they're still moving?
Well, I say if you love it, buy it. Because, I'm so thankful for the things that we purchased over our 20 plus years of military life, because they're unique items that you gather from the places that you live or the places that you got to visit when you were stationed maybe overseas or wherever. And we've been very fortunate to have had relatively minor damages in 14 moves. So yeah, if you love it, you should get it. It's worth the risk. You can't live in fear.
No, I love it. Yeah, I think you're right. And sometimes things break and I'm sad, but we still had it for the time that we had it, but they can be replaced. I love that tip. Meanwhile, my husband's somewhere. I feel like he can hear us and going, no, don't say those words. If you love it, buy it. But no, so that was a personal question. So let's get back to the professional stuff. I know that like you had mentioned, when we were chatting that your husband's getting ready to transition out of the military lifestyle into a civilian force. So with the benefit of hindsight, because now that you're getting to be on the other side of it, and you did it for, you did it as a hobby for a while, and then you did it as a business. Like, I guess I have two questions for you. One, what would you tell your 20-something-year-old self? Whether it's like you should have started earlier or whatever. Let's start with that question. What would you tell your 20-something-year-old self in terms of like your professional life now that you have the benefit of hindsight?
I really don't have any regrets. I'm very thankful that I was able to be a stay-at-home mom for most of my adult life. I've got a daughter that's 30 now and a son that's 27. And so it wasn't until they were out of the home. And honestly, well, I always did tons of volunteer work in the communities we lived in and had my degree in teaching. So I was teaching some English as a second language courses to refugees when we lived at Wright Pat. Loved that so much. And then I also like volunteered. I was a teen mom mentor. I've taught parenting classes in jails and in women's shelters. I've always just had a heart for the people around me, and especially maybe the underdogs. And so I don't have any regrets. I'm very thankful that my husband made enough money, honestly, that I could have that flexibility to just give him my time freely. So no regrets. Yeah.
So what would you advise for military spouses now who are thinking about turning their passion into a business? I mean, and you could just restate what you said during the interview if you want, but what are your top 3 tips for them?
Top 3 tips for people wanting to turn their hobby into a business. Well, as I already said, first, I would offer it free of charge. Put it on especially as a military spouse, put it on the military spouse's Facebook page. And then get a few clients from that. Get their feedback. Ask for honest feedback. If you cannot get anyone to use or buy your service or your product or take your product for free, you may not be able to start a business with it. Okay? You know, so, you know, make sure it's something that people actually need and want, and enjoy. So do it free first. Get that feedback, get the pictures, get the reviews. And then I would suggest taking a business course, you know, especially if it's offered for free on base, take that one. And even if you're not getting the answers that you maybe feel like you want or need to start your business during the course, do like I did. Wait around till the end of the course, go up and talk to the instructor and see if they'd be willing to help you further. So those are some of my suggestions.
No, I love it. And thank you for your tips. And I mean, I think there's a generation of military spouses out there who are like, oh my God, no, free. You know, you hear free and then you freeze. But I don't think what Amy's saying is do it for free. What she's saying is use them as beta testers, get their feedback, get their reviews, and use that as a basis for your marketing. So that when you do launch your, it's like a soft launch, but when you do launch a product, you'll have already worked through the kinks. So I think that's really, really valuable advice. And I agree with you about taking those free courses because, if the resources are there and they're free to you, you should definitely use them while they're free to you. Because you might age out of the eligibility, right? So great tips, Amy. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And I hope it serves to inspire a lot of you guys who are thinking about turning your hobbies into a business. And if you have a story to tell, we hope that you will also apply for one of these highlights because we would love to hear your story. We always say you can't be what you can't see. And I know that there's many military spouses who will recognize themselves in you, Amy. So I really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Please have anybody who wants to reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram. Feel free to ask me any questions. So I'd be happy to help.
That's awesome. Thanks, Amy. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you for joining us. Bye.
Bye.